Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for Apex Fighting 80. Brought to you by the UFC. Brought to you by PrizePicks. Use promo code DOP when making a new account to get a match up to $100 on your first deposit. We're back. We had, 17 weeks on straight, Cody? 1 week off. And then now it's like 3 weeks on, 1 week off. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Probably a little bit too many weeks off, but after the 17-week grind, I'm not going to lie, it was nice to not have to do this on a Wednesday. I love doing this with you on a Wednesday, but it's nice every 3-4 months to have a Wednesday off.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. It's like, I think we had 11 consecutive weeks of UFC cards and then finally 1 week off. So that's like your rest week. You want to take a rest. You want to, get ahead on some things that you can. Unfortunately, I had a super chaotic week last week. So I think everybody on this forum, everyone YouTube, everyone Twitter kind of thing kind of knows me as Cody the prediction guy. I make predictions. But that's not really how I identify myself in person. I consider myself Cody the fight guy. I like doing fights. I like matchmaking. I like promoting. I like doing, event organizations. I like going in the back room and helping these guys out and getting them ice afterwards. That's kind of what I like doing in my real life. So I'm the matchmaker for various organizations, but one of them is this Thick Boy Fight Club, and they're doing an amateur show this past Saturday, September 30th, right? So I'm putting these fights together. It was a 24-fight card. We had 48 fighters. It was pretty chaotic. Shit was going on. But this story goes back 5 weeks, okay? So normally head coaches will hit me up and be like, I've got this guy, this guy, this guy. Managers will hit me up. I got this guy and this guy and this guy. I don't really go and reach out to anybody looking, hey, do you want to fight? Typically, it's I'll just reach out to coaches and managers. On this one rare occasion, this guy hits up this Facebook group basically saying he wants to fight. So he gets in contact with me and he's I want to fight. I'm okay, cool, man. Send me some details, right? So he says his name is Latana Chibuzi. He's 24 years old. He's from Nigeria, Africa. He's 6'5", 180 pounds. This I got to see. So I'm cool, man. What gym are you at? No gym. Who's your head coach? No head coach. Have you ever fought before? No. You ever trained before? No. So I'm I don't know if this is a great idea jumping in there and taking a fight, bro. He's you need to give me a chance. Now, this is all over message. And I'm going to be real with you. When he messages back, it's super broken English. But I can understand it. But I can tell that there's at least a little bit of a language barrier there. And I'm just kind of trying to help this guy that you don't actually want to take this fight. But he's no, I have no training, but I train in my mind. And I want to take a fight. Throw whoever in there. I want to fight. So I'm okay, well, you weigh 180 pounds. Can you get down to 170? But he has never cut weight before. Doesn't know how to cut weight. So he's basically just I'll fight what I walk around at, which is presumably 180 pounds. So I'm okay, this sounds like a massive waste of my time. And also just a giant liability. I got a conscience. I can't just throw this guy in there. But he's pretty dead set determined. So I'm thinking he's wasting my time. So I'm okay, tell you what, get me a hepatitis B test, hepatitis C test, and an HIV test. If you pass all of that, I'll find you an opponent. Anyways, takes 3 weeks, but he gets it all done, sends it all in. It's got all 3 tests. Send it over to the commission. They're yeah, this guy'd be cleared to fight. Okay, don't actually have an opponent for him, but all the same, I'm okay, well, this is the day of the weigh-ins, and this is the date, thinking he's not even going to show up to that. Probably not going to show up to that, right? You get a lot of guys that are just kind of think they're fighters, not really. This guy, he's self-trained, trains in his mind, doesn't even speak English as a first language. There's obviously something going on here, so... Now it's weigh-ins, right? It's Friday of weigh-ins. We've got 24 fights. Everybody weighs in. This guy, I don't actually have an opponent for him, but I haven't really been talking to him. So everybody gets on the scale. Commission weighs everybody. The weigh-ins are essentially done. There's 20 minutes left. I went to 3 o'clock and it was 2:40, but everyone's pretty much leaving. So I'm looking at it and I had one guy miss by 10 pounds, and his medicals are all messed up. Ukrainian guy. His fight's off. The fight was at 185. So coincidentally enough, I have a slot against a guy at 185. So I call this guy. I'm well, I didn't call him. I sent him a message. I'm yeah, you used to come to the weigh-ins. He's 6 minutes. Cool. Guy walks into weigh-ins, walks right up to the desk. I see him. I'm oh, hey, Latana. I wave my hand. I look at my phone. There's a message from him saying, now we will meet. And when we meet, you will realize we do not speak the same language. So I'm assuming he speaks Nigerian. So I walk over and I wave. I say, hi, Latana. And he comes over and he just grunts out a noise. It's just And I'm like, shit. Language that I obviously don't understand. How am I supposed to communicate with this guy? But it kind of dawns on me. He wasn't trying to speak. It was mostly just like a noise. He seemed very disoriented. There was nobody with him. He shows up all by himself to weigh-ins, and mostly everybody's gone. And so after interacting with him like maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes, it like quickly dawns on me. I'm like, this guy's deaf. Like he's straight deaf. So I write on the phone. I'm like, you're deaf? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do you speak languages? Doesn't speak, but American Sign, Nigerian Sign. He can read and write in English. That's it. Doesn't have a coach, doesn't have a corner. I have no idea how he got from wherever he lived to that location, but he showed up and he had his medicals in hand and he wants to fight. So he jumps on the scale with shoes on, shirt on, and he was 176 pounds. So I'm assuming had he stripped down, he would have been a welterweight. And he's 6'5". So now I got a problem on my hands. Is like I'm trying to hide him from the commissioner guy because I'm like, this will just get yanked. And after he's handed in his blood work, after he's shown up and come all this way, even though this is a total safety liability risk for me, I feel like I can't just like not give him the fight. Like he's pretty much done everything to this point. And he's dead set game. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this on. So I bring him over to this heavy bag and I'm just like, hey, yeah, show him a couple combinations. I'm like, hit the bag for me a few times. Like, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Right on the phone. I'm just like, hit the bag a few times. Show me some combos. Throws like super lazy body kick, and then he just like shakes off his head, looks at me, puts both hands up, like focus mitts. I put both hands up, and like the first thing he does is like John Jones, like a Khalil Roundtree, try to blow my knee out, and then it almost dices me in the face. So I'm like immediately like, this is an amateur fight, Paul. There's no knees or there's no elbows at all, and you certainly can't stomp a guy's knee and blow it out. And he's deaf. How am I even supposed to articulate all this stuff to him? So now I have to tell the commissioner, who's certainly going to yank this, and is certainly going to be like, this is the worst idea you've ever come up with in your life. So I walk over to him, and I'm just like, listen, dude, we got a guy here. He's an independent fighter, no coach, no corner, no interpreter. He's completely deaf, and he has no idea what the rules of an amateur MMA fight are. And then the commissioner just like looks me dead set in the eye, and he's just like, Cody, here at the OGA, we're all about inclusivity, and we're going to help this guy, even though he's deaf and the whole world doesn't give him up. We're going to help this guy. I was like, shit. All right, let's go. So he talks to him for like an hour, clears the guy apparently. So now now the fight's together, but I got to call the opponent and offer to them. Now the guy he's fighting is an 85er. He's 6'3". He's 1-0, first round armbar and his one win. And he's out of Adrenaline MMA. Like quite literally, his corner was Mark Hominick, who fought for a UFC title, beat Jose Aldo in the 5th round. He's got Sam Stout. He's got Jesse Ronson. He's got WEC vet and IFL veteran Kis Horodecki. Like he's got like an all-star cast of guys with him. And they're kind of like half hesitant, like, you know, we're going to go out there and maul this guy, but they accept. They show up on fight day, and Buddy messages me. This Lotana guy sends me a message that night. He's like, in the morning, sir, you will see my greatness. He's like, I want you to be my coach. I'm like, I can't coach you because I'm the matchmaker. I can't be running in there. I'm tempted. I want to coach you. In fact, originally I agree because I'm like, the fight's not going to last more than a round. So there's not going to be any coaching. He's deaf, first of all. So what could I possibly say from the outside of the cage? And then the in-between rounds, that's not going to happen. If he somehow manages to win, it would be quick. More than likely he's going to lose, and it's going to be real quick. So I'm just like, yeah, no problem. So now it's the morning of the fight, and he hits me up, and he's like, I need equipment. I'm like, what equipment do you need? Shorts, cup. Doesn't have anything. So I grab a pair of shorts, old pair of Muay Thai shorts from my place. I grab a cup from my place. I go down to the venue. Everyone's warming up. I give him his stuff. He's the 5th fight on the card. I try to put him in early just to kind of get it out of the way kind of deal. And now it's like 2 fights out. And then this Bobby Poulter, who's a pro fighter, comes in. He gets me. He's like, Cody. He's like, this deaf guy's in the back. He doesn't have a coach. Doesn't have a corner. Doesn't have anything. He's asking for a mouth guard. I'm like, this is by far the stupidest thing I've ever gotten myself into booking this guy. Like, what am I doing here? So I'm like, I can't handle this shit. I can't handle this shit. So I go cage side and I sit cage side. And I'm just kind of like sitting there pondering, like, do I pull this fight on like 10 minutes notice? Like, what's going on here, Paul? What's going on here? So as I'm thinking this, I'm watching this fight and it's like, boom, colossal left hook. Buddy hits the mat. His mouthpiece comes spilling out of the cage right onto my lap. It was as if the gods had somehow been like, you need a mouthpiece? We're putting Latana Chibuzi in there, dog. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. rinse this thing off, hand it to him. He doesn't even bat an eye. He just shoves it in his mouth. Music comes on. Ring walks down there. Fight starts. Immediately gets taken down. Trying to get back up. Gives up his back. Buddy puts in the rear naked choke. And then there's like this moment that occurs here, right? Where he's in this rear naked choke with absolutely no idea what to do to get out of it. And it's as if his mind just shifted this type of focus where it's like, this is a death match, Kumite death match. And I need to now fight for my life. And he just starts punching the guy and softens him up, rolls in, gets on top of him, mauls him, fight gets back up. He steps in and boom, the guy from Adrenaline MMA just counters with him right hand. He does the chicken dance. They both fall to the floor. The round ends. So I'm like, oh my God, man, the round ended. This guy needs water. He needs like a corner. So he had brought a deaf buddy with him, and then his deaf buddy goes in, not a fight fan, never been to a fight before, starts signing him some stuff. This guy, like, he's out of it. They're both out of it. Second round starts. They spill to the ground. Guy from Adrenaline puts him in an armbar. And it's the same thing, dude. He has very little understanding what the rule set is. He's clearly like fighting on some different level of belief in himself, and he just fights right through, he just rolls right through this armbar, ends up on top and mauls him. I was like, oh my God, wins the fight, collapses in the back. He was out in the back for an hour, banged up, but I was like, oh my God, pulls it off. So I'm officially this guy's manager now, bro. This guy could go to the top. Well, he had zero training. He had no training. He had self-taught himself. He came in there and he beat a guy with 5 years experience out of one of the best gyms in the entire country with on a whim, dude. It was crazy. So I've never worked with a deaf athlete before, but he's like a super down-to-earth guy. I'm like, man, I got to get to know you. How long have you been in Canada? It won't tell me. Where did you learn how to fight? It was like his small little village back home. No experience.
What's his real age, like, Cody? What's his real age?
What?
What's his real age? What's he listed at versus how old is this guy actually?
He says he's 24, but if you saw him, he's baby face. He looks like he's 21 years old. Like he's very, very young, and he's
usually goes the other way.
I don't know, man. I was like, I can't believe he won the fight. So me and his deaf buddy, like, carrying him out. We bring him to the back, we get him some ice, we towel him down. He's like, again, I can't really communicate with this guy, and he's kind of so out of it and is having adrenaline rush. I can't really type on the phone and have him read it. So we just kind of like let him hang in the back for a bit. And he comes, I don't know, I guess they ended up taking off. I said bye to him. He leaves, messages me like 7 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, sir, I just want to apologize for letting you down. I was like, letting me down? Dog, you have no idea how proud I am of you. Like, I had thought you had no chance in the world. I was just hoping you weren't going to come out here and get killed or make us look bad. And he was so self-confident, like, just give me a chance and let me show the world and this and that. And like, I'll tell you what, dude, he was 6'5", 176 with clothes on. Had he taken his clothes off, he would have been 170. He fought a dude that was 6'3", 185, every bit of 185. He fought a guy on 5 weeks' notice with no training, okay, who was up a weight class from a legitimate gym with legitimate coaches who had already fought previously and won by first-round armbar, got out of 2 submission attempts, beat the crap out of him, got rocked, still came back from it. Dude, those are the intangibles you just can't teach. So if that guy was, and I told him right away, I was like, bro, you got to start working your wrestling, working your grappling. Guys won't want to stand with you. He's just like an athletic specimen, man. And I think that's why, and not that he was Russian, but I think that's why you're seeing these guys from like more of a tougher background, more of a blue collar background. It's like once they get somewhere, they're willing to put everything into it, right? He could have quit multiple times. He had no idea what he was doing, and he still somehow found a way to win. It's crazy. So I hit up a bunch of gyms, and I'm just like, you just sponsor him for a 3-month, tutorial. Give him 3 months free to come train to your gym. And I think you'll see that the thing is that it's tough communicating with him. Like, how do you, explain the positions to him? How do you explain certain techniques to him, right? Like, there's obviously going to be a learning curve there, but dude, it was nuts, man. It was nuts. So it was an absolutely wild weekend. And and then Contender Series last night, like I had looked at it for an hour and it just looked like they weren't Russian prospects. They were like middle-aged Russians. They were Russian, but it just felt like a trappy card. So I said pass on that altogether. Now we got a UFC. There's a Bellator this weekend as well. So I think there's some better spots that we can line up. But how does that story correlate to MMA gambling? In a nutshell, what do you think that guy's odds would have been? Would he have been a minus 1,000? He had absolutely nothing going for him, does not train, didn't know what he was doing, basically just went on primal rage mode and fought to the death and won against a good guy. So we sit here week in, week in, and we break down these fighters, and this guy can do that, and this is what he's capable of, and the takedowns and the accolades and all these different things. But like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's who wants it more. You don't know who wants it more because you're not in these guys' heads. So glad to be getting back to UFC predictions. And hopefully we're making a nice profitable one. But yeah, that really left me with like in the back of my mind. It's like at the end of the day, nobody knows shit, right? It's all about who's the better man when the cage door closes.
My only thoughts is when you first came on, you're like, I've got a crazy story. And I was just like worried that there was like an update on the babies in the basement. Glad that was not the case. And then what else? Oh, you're lucky you didn't drop the bag there. Because you told the guy, I'm not going to be in your corner, yada, yada, yada. And then he goes out there and wins. And then all of a sudden, Cody's his best friend. Like, I don't know. He could have he could have found somebody else. Maybe his buddy who actually did go in his corner would have been his manager. So I'm just saying that you're fortunate that I don't know what his name is, but
Latana
Chibuzi. You're lucky that he's loyal. He's stuck with you. I'm only kidding. Obviously, you've got the connections to set him up at different camps and different gyms and onwards and upwards. Hopefully,
that's what he's got to do.
Pans out, and we're betting on him in the UFC in the future.
Yeah, that's what he's got to do is just get in the gym and get through the grind. But yeah, again, man, there was another kid on the card. He was a Canadian wrestling champion, wrestled in Greece, wrestled in Russia, wrestled in Georgia, wrestled all over. Tony Laramie training partner. Sky's the limit. 14 opponents try turn it down. And this BJJ blue belt kid was like, I'll fight him, and caught him in a guillotine choke. Kicked his ass and then caught him in a guillotine choke. Forced the shot, caught him clean. Again, it's like you can have this background, this pedigree, these accolades, but ultimately, a guy like Bobby Green who takes this shit half seriously and always has can be headlining another card in the UFC because it's like there's something to be said about like that mindset, that mentality, that ability to win. But yeah, to your point, it's like, oh man, you can't corner. I'm matchmaking the card, right? And not only that, my biggest concern was when I hit up Mark Hominick because Mark Hominick's guy thought he was fighting a different opponent. I had to hit him up after the weigh-ins and explain to Mark, anyways, like this guy's 6'5", weighs 170 pounds. He's basically fighting up a weight class, has no trainer, has no coach, is from Nigerian, doesn't speak English, is completely deaf, down a weight class, never been to a jiu-jitsu class a day in his life, never had a kickboxing match, never had a Muay Thai, claims that he learned how to fight. Yeah. So now if I go in the cage with this guy and he ends up knocking out Mark Sky, which he did, does that not look like I set them up? So I was like, this is a big relationship for me. Fair. Mark's got 6 guys on the card, right? Like I can't risk that. But what I had noticed afterwards is like, here's a guy with 0 guidance who watches John Jones YouTube videos. He said he watched John Jones and Alex Pereira. It's like, why don't you watch Israel Adesanya? You're built pretty much the exact same and you're both Nigerian. Doesn't matter. He would watch YouTube videos and just like shadow box and train his mind. And he won. Against a good guy. Oh man, it was wild shit. So I'm hoping to go 11 for 11 on this UFC card. But what I'm getting at is it's like this is the toughest sport to predict. Maybe this in baseball because baseball just nobody cares apparently. They're just like they're down with losing all the time. I don't know. That's why I don't bet other sports than MMA. So they'll give you a full effort. My realization this past weekend was it's like you could train your whole life for something and just lose to somebody who's just genetically more gifted than you. That's the bottom line. So anyways, let's jump into this one. I'm looking forward to it.
Crazy things happen when you bet on people stripped down to their underwear fighting in a cage for money. All right, we got Grant Dawson taking on Bobby Green. Grant Dawson is a minus 420 favorite. Bobby Green plus 320. You kind of alluded to it earlier. I mean, Grant Dawson, since he's moved to ATT, since he got out of being trained by Kraus, The cardio, which was kind of a question, you would see him slow down at the end of round 3 in some of his fights. That seems to be completely gone. His wrestling, super on point. I mean, he took down Mark Madsen twice. He takes down everybody, and it's rinse and repeat. The only thing that I would like poke holes in is we haven't really seen him go 5 rounds. The 3-round cardio recently would lead you to believe that he can go another 10 minutes afterwards. But the volume's pretty low on the striking side of things if he's not able to get takedowns. Bobby Green is not very easy to take down. And trust me, I love what Grant Dawson has done. I think he's made massive improvements, but plus 320 and growing. I mean, Islam Makhachev was the last person to take down Bobby Green, and he took him down and he subbed him pretty much instantly. But we're talking about the best lightweight in the world right there. I don't know. I'm kind of tempted right out of the gate, Cody, to take Bobby Green. Is he a value play or is it just a straight up trap? I'm going to pick him for the purposes of this show. And if this number continues to climb, like, I'm going to be hard pressed not to put a little bit on Bobby Green. Like, plus 320 seems a little bit wild.
Yeah, if I was going to take Bobby Green, which I'm not, the 320 looks good, but I think I would probably be tempted to just take him by decision as well. He's finished a couple guys here and there, but for the most part, Bobby Green's a stay to the outside, throw his jab, throw his right hand, shake off everything you throw back at him, and just a point decision kind of guy, right? Slick, wins rounds, wins points, wins fights. But I would probably want it a little even better than 320, and I would probably chase that decision prop. But yeah, no, I got to go with Grant Dawson. Like you said, ever since he left James Krause in Kansas City, moved over to American Top Team, I think you're really seeing him develop. In Kansas, it's not that he didn't have good coaching and some training partners. It's that he was probably the best guy in the room. He's the best. He was a featherweight at the time. He was struggling to make featherweight, growing into that lightweight frame, and just the best guy in the room. Who does he got to really push him? Derek Minner? Like, that gets old eventually. So at ATT, he's got just all the bodies, some of the best guys in the game. And I think they've been able to push him. His cardio is a lot better. Still only 29 years old. And he's got that really wrestling heavy game. He can strike a little bit, but that's not where he's comfortable. He wants to strike so he can move you back and either cause one of two things. If he can get you to the cage, he'll shoot under, or if he can get you to try to counter strike, he can shoot under. But ultimately, Grant Dawson wants to get you to the ground. Now, if you look at Grant Dawson's last fight against Damir Ismagulov, probably his best comparison to this fight, right? Damir Ismagulov is a lot like Bobby Green. Doesn't have a whole lot of power, but he's extremely accurate, has a nasty jab, has solid takedown defense, and is generalist, high-level generalist. Good at everything. Good at everything. Not great in any one area, but good at everything. He had given Arman Tsarukyan a relatively competitive fight, and how he's coming back in here against Grant Dawson. Grant Dawson gets him to the ground, but beyond that, it's the positional awareness. He's able to just quickly get to the back. Once he gets to the back, he puts it in a body triangle. Once he's got a body triangle on, you can't go anywhere, and he wins rounds. So can he do that against Bobby Green? Well, like you said, wow, who's taking Bobby Green down? Islam Makhachev will give him a pass on that. To me, the thing is the UFC's always booked Bobby Green against non-wrestlers. They book him against strikers. I mean, you look at his last run of guys, Tony Ferguson shot to bits, can't wrestle. But yeah, Tony Ferguson, Jared Gooden had shot one shitty takedown attempt in that fight, but it was mostly just a striking match. Drew Dober is a striker. Nasrat Haqparast is a striker. Ali Quinta, Rafael Fiziev, Lando Venata. I don't know. For the most part, mostly strikers, right? I would think that somebody like Grant Dawson is able to take him down. And to my point, he had taken on striker. When he did take on Islam Makhachev, it's like, oh, well, Bobby can wrestle a little bit. Hey, Bobby doesn't get taken down by all those non-wrestlers he fights, and he got taken down instantaneously and submitted instantaneously. It was non-competitive. There was nothing there. The first real grappler he had fought. Levels to this shit, Islam's at the top. That I get. But it was like that's the one time he had the style clash going against him, and it didn't do particularly well. So for Grant Dawson, I think the takedowns will be there. They will be available. And once he does get the fight to the ground, I think that he either just slinks onto the back, tries to get one hook in at the very least, rides him up against the cage, and just tries to put as much pressure on him. If this is a 3-round fight, I really like Grant Dawson. In a 5-round fight, it's subjective that Grant Dawson's trying to wrestle the entire time and Bobby Green's trying to fight the whole time. What does Bobby land? Does Bobby, get the judges to favor him for once in his entire career? But no, Bobby fights a style that's usually close and competitive and doesn't usually favor UFC judging. And I think Grant Dawson's going to be the one coming forward, pressing, trying to get the takedowns and make it happen. So I'm going to agree with your point to a T. The line is wide. Honestly, I do not like this line. But because it's the main event, at least I would have a hedge-out opportunity at the end of it. And truthfully, I just think Grant Dawson's really coming into his own and Bobby Green's falling into gatekeeper-ish type status.
All right, on Prize Picks, promo code DOP. Are there any of these props that jump out to you? 60.5 significant strikes for Dawson. 3 takedowns. If it gets into like 4 rounds, like 3 takedowns seems surmountable for sure. Dawson's
Yeah,
never
the 3
really
takedowns, I
like
don't mind.
all of his other stats are obviously over the course of 3-round fights. I don't know. Is he gonna take him down and like submit him really early? I would be leaning towards the overs in this fight, but I mean, if Dawson takes him down, gets his back, you never like when you're in that type of position. You never know. A rear naked choke can kind of just present itself. Not exactly a fight I'll be attacking over on Prize Picks, but yeah, I would lean towards the overs and the 60.5 significant strikes and the over 3 takedowns for Grant Dawson in that fight. Moving on down, we got Joe Pyfer taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan. Joe Pyfer is a minus 450 favorite. Alhassan plus 350. Who you got?
Yeah, I think Pyfer wins. The line's pretty reflective of that. He's a heavy favorite. I think he wins, and he probably wins by knockout, truth be told. So with Joe Pyfer, clearly the UFC does like this kid. They gave him a chance in the Contender Series. He broke his arm. He's got a crazy story, by the way. Like, if you remember him from his Contender Series appearances, he is a career lifelong martial artist. He's been doing like Japanese jiu-jitsu, traditional martial arts since he's like 3 years old. His dad was a heavy influence early on in his life. They ended up having a falling out again. Those are the kind of guys that have trauma in their life, and those end up being the best fighters. It's fact. So Pyfer has a difficult upbringing, but again, a very skilled guy. Wrestled in high school, physically strong. Jiu-jitsu's coming together. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because Japanese jiu-jitsu it's kind of phony baloney. But had a black belt of that when he was a kid. Switches over to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, adds kickboxing, adds it all. So I was heavy on him when he came on the Contender Series the first time against Dustin Stolfus. Unfortunately, started off good, ended up getting slammed, has his arm broken, and then that was it. After that, though, he ends up going homeless, right? I mean, again, tough upbringing, no money, fighting is just not for the faint of heart, and he has some tough times. And like Dana White takes pity on him, ends up giving him some money. I believe they rented him out a house or bought him a house, improve his training situation, and now you're really seeing the guy come into his own. He's big for the division, good grappling, good power, and just like fundamentally pretty sound. When I look at Joe Pyfer, I think here's another guy that just needed a hand in life, right? Had all these issues going against him. But if you give him the elements, you put him in the right training camps, he's going to be a serious problem. 6'3", long, lots of power. And again, in his last number of fights, right? So he beats Ozzy Diaz on the Contender Series. He beats Armin Amandovsky. Those are fairly easy fights, right? The grappling match against Eric Anders. Now that you're seeing he can toss around some pretty big guys. He's fundamentally sound. Beats Jaromir Shar with the first round knockout, and then grapples Jaromir Shar right after that and beats him by decision in a pure grappling match. Mearshart, of course, BJJ black belt, solid guy. So Pyfer's doing all the things, trying to keep active, trying to add to his skill set, and I think he's a good prospect. For the UFC, you could throw a guy like that to the Wolves, or you could build him up. Clearly, Dana likes him. Clearly, there's a little bit of a financial investment there. I think they're giving him the proper matchups, and this is another one of them. With Abdul Razak Alhassan, 38 years old, so he's certainly not the best version of him that he's ever been. And of course, this is a guy that used to fight at 170 and had just like tremendous power at 170. Thing is he can't really make weight at 170. So he misses in 2 back-to-back. He misses against Manur Lazez, loses to Chaos Williams in his next fight, knocked out in 30 seconds, moves up to middleweight. And at middleweight, there really just hasn't been a whole lot there. He's bang or bust. He has that power. He's going to try to get that quick 2-minute knockout. But if he's forced to fight late, there's not a whole lot there. Judo black belt, and yet his takedown defense is not very good. He can toss you, but he doesn't have great top game. So his grappling is not going to be effective against Pyfer. If he takes Pyfer down, Pyfer's getting back up. And if anything, Pyfer with the American wrestling, solid takedowns. I think if anything, he's taking Alhassan to the ground. If he gets on top of Alhassan, this thing's over. If the fight stays standing, yeah, puncher's chance, for sure. Alhassan likes to swing blows, but he's a much shorter man. He's going to find it difficult to close that distance, close that pocket, and get in on Pyfer, who I think is just going to counter him all day. Counter him till he hurts him with something. Once he hurts him, he's going to swarm. He can knock him out standing. He can take him to the ground. Pyfer's got avenues on both. Alhassan, meanwhile, he's just reduced to puncher's chance. Meanwhile, he's at his best a 170, a big 170, but now he's taking on a giant middleweight up a weight class. He hasn't had a ton of success at middleweight, and even though he's been trying to pace himself lately, at 38 years old, if this kid puts any type of pace out there, you're probably going to slow down, and then you're susceptible to getting caught. So I think Pyfer wins. I'm not the greedy type, so I'm just going to play that money line. I'm going to try to parlay it with a couple pieces. However, you are the greedy type. You want that better value. I'm thinking Pyfer inside the distance, maybe more specifically knockout.
Yeah, I mean, his inside the distance props are like super, super jacked. Minus 250 inside the distance. Him by knockout. Minus 150 is like the best price on Mars, and minus 175 somewhere else. Putting in that grappling time. You know where my mind always goes. What's the long shot that probably doesn't hit, but does it hit at enough of a rate? Him by submission is like plus 600, which, I mean, if he's working on all his grappling, the best way to negate any chance of Abdul Razak Alhassan winning this fight is to take him off the feet altogether. We'll see when like more books open up, if there's a little shot there. But yeah, Abdul Razak Alhassan just doesn't have the cardio for me to really back him seriously, particularly against anybody who I think is a half decent prospect moving forward. And as you alluded to many of times, he's pretty undersized at middleweight. He's gotten by with some power in a few spots, but it's the same thing every single time. He either gets you out of there in the first like 7.5 minutes, or he falters significantly down the stretch. He has gone to decision in a couple fights, but it's like those are ugly third rounds when you get there. So, yeah, I mean, Pyfer's the rightful favorite. I probably won't be doing much with the minus 450. We'll see when more props open up, but the greediness inside of me is leaning me towards maybe one of those a little submission stab there. See what he's been working on. Let's move on. We've got Joaquin Buckley taking on Alex Morono. Buckley a minus 170 favorite. Morono can be had for plus 150. Who you got?
Okay, so this is a spot that I would be tempted to maybe consider that underdog play. I think Morono is the savvy veteran. He's fought in the better level of experience. He tends to walk forward and he tends to put up superior volume. Buckley's got these really reactionary, big athletic movement takedowns where he'll explode and dump you to the ground, but Morono's BJJ black belt. Morono at his best can take a hell of a punch. And again, he throws up traditionally way higher numbers than Buckley. Buckley's an athletically gifted fighter, but there's no doubt this guy tends to slow down. Look at his fight with Abdul Razak Alhassan. It just gets reduced to just like the sloppiest of the slop. But that's all considering if Morono was at his best. I got a feeling 33-year-old Morono has been in a bunch of wars and is starting to regress a little bit. Again, when you look at him, I think his high note is probably he knocks out Donald Cerrone. And Donald Cerrone, not his retirement fight. He fought Jim Miller right after that, but he's one fight removed from his retirement fight. So since then, he's taken a ton of damage, Paul. So his fight with Matthew Semmelsberger, right? He got hit a bunch by what would represent a lower level guy in the UFC. And in fact, he got knocked down in that fight. So he gets knocked down, gets back up, still manages to win it. The Santiago Ponzinibbio fight, it's a scrap. They both got knocked down. But in the end, Morono takes a ton of damage. He's getting battered by the end, and he officially gets knocked out. The very next fight against Tim Means, it seems like he's kind of super hesitant to engage and kind of jump in there. I don't know if he's worried about getting hit, but it seems like he was just kind of waiting on Means a little bit. Means wins the first round. He lands the better shots. He lands combinations up against the cage. Morono seems super gun shy. Second round, Means scores 2 takedowns. Unfortunately, the second one's right into a guillotine choke, and it taps him out. I feel like Buckley's a much faster, better, a speedier fighter, better athlete. He stays to the outside. He can just land those 1-2s and move. Morono tends to lumber forward, doesn't have great footwork. If he tries to cut off the cage, again, Buckley's just a speedier guy, quicker guy. He can land those combinations, 1-2s, move, he's going to be fine. He can shoot a couple takedowns in as long as he doesn't have much of a neck. So, watch out for the guillotine choke. But if you have a close round, you need to do something decisive, mix in the takedowns. I think he's capable of doing all that stuff. The reason I end up going with Buckley is when I look at him, again, this is a guy that just doesn't carry it through for the 15 minutes. He's trying. He's still only 29. He's training down in Las Vegas. He's doing all the right things. It's like he just got to figure out how to tie his game together. But there's good moments, right? That fight with Chris Curtis. He's killing Chris Curtis in the first round. He's beating him to the punch. He's outstriking a fantastic striker. And unfortunately, he ends up getting caught in the second round. My thing is that when I think about when he looks bad, it's Nasruddin Imavov, 6'3", right? It's maybe some spots in the Andre Fiallo fight, who's 6 foot. It's the Kevin Holland fight, who's 6'3", 6'4". Those really tall guys enable him from closing the distance, and he's just missing and whiffing at air for the most part. You're his height, he's going to hit you. And when he hits you, he gets to the target. So the one little thing, though, is from 6 pro losses for Joaquin Buckley, he's been knocked out in 4 of them. And if Morono brings this type of dogfight, he's got to be worried about it. But Morono just doesn't got the power. Like, he's got what? I think he's got 1 knockout win in the last 4 years. Maybe it's Cerrone. I think he's got 2 knockout wins in the last 5 years. I'm not fully convinced that he's got enough one-shot power to get Buckley's attention. And if Buckley can just fight a smart game plan for 2 of the rounds, he probably just dances to the outside. So I am going to go Joaquin Buckley. I recognize this as live underdog, potential apple pie shitter alert. But ultimately, I do think that Buckley is another one of these guys that at 29 and his training status and getting some good fights in the UFC, he's rounding out his game and he's getting to the version of him that will be good. Whereas Morono at 33 with 30 pro fights and has fought a who's of guys in the division, he's taken a lot of damage. He competes fairly often, and I just think that either he's going to get hit with something and get hurt, or he's going to find trouble finding the distance, trouble finding the mark, drop 2 of the first 3 rounds, and ultimately drop the decision. So the official pick will be Buckley.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pretty much echo most of the same sentiments as you. I just think it'll probably come down to, like, I think it's going to be a relatively close fight. And if it does go to decision, I think the more impactful strikes will be landed by Buckley. You make good points about, like, I mean, at middleweight, he was just so undersized. He was giving up so much, like, in the reach department. You know, the Kevin Holland, I mean, obviously Kevin Holland is fighting at 170 now as well, but it's like those types of fights where he's giving up so much. It was really, really difficult for him to get into the pocket, try to deliver shots without getting caught. They're around the same size here. So, you know, he's like an inch shorter. Reach isn't too far off either. So I like the matchup for Buckley. Buckley, I'm not completely... Morono, we used to talk about him having a bad chin. We've seen him rocked a whole bunch, but it's like he hasn't really been knocked out in a long time. So I would be prepared to see this fight go the full 15 minutes. Yeah, Buckley's a pick for me as well. I mean, if I was chasing a prop, it would probably be Buckley by decision, because it's it's like 4-1 as opposed to like even money. But I'm not entirely sure. So Buckley on the money line is my preferred pick. Significant strikes, 36.5 for Buckley. I mean, obviously you're risking against the knockout there, but that seems like an over. I mean, he's not a high volume guy by any stretch of the imagination. But against Imavov, landed 46. Chris Curtis, 50 in like 7.5 minutes. 36 is definitely very, very doable for Joaquin Buckley, I think, in this fight. Moving on down, we've got Drew Dober taking on Aoriqileng. Minus 420 for Dober, plus 320 for Aoriqileng. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is just another fight where it's like you can understand the line on one perspective, where it's like, oh yeah, if you're just looking at skill set, then Drew Dober's the better fighter. This is likely going to be a stand-up battle. Drew Dober has the quicker hands, the bigger power, the higher level of experience. Rick Glenn has fought 3 times in the last 5 years. He kind of just takes off long periods of time between fights. He had massive hip surgeries, just kind of had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He's a licensed plumber in Iowa and works a full-time job. So even though he's capable of winning, and boy, oh boy, the guy is capable of winning, it's just, I find it hard to get behind him, whereas Drew Dober actively fights the best guys. And yeah, I understand the line. The other side of it is the narrative. Throw the tape study aside, and you look at the narrative. And the narrative here for Drew Dober is that the guy had never been knocked out, Paul. That was kind of his best weapon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy can strike. Yeah, the guy's got deep cardio. He trains at altitude in Denver. Yeah, the guy can do all these different things. But really, when it comes down to it, his ability to take a solid shot and come back forward was kind of his get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, there was fights like the Bobby Green fight. He's absolutely getting his ass kicked. The chin saves him, keeps him in the fight long enough to just land something back, and he knocks out Bobby Green, which is not an easy task. That's kind of been it for him. But I think that was the first fight where it's like, okay, Bobby was styling on him. Now, Bobby is an excellent striker, but Dober's an excellent striker, and yet he's getting styled on. Gets hurt, comes back, gets the win. Sure, brush it off. The very next fight is Matt Frevola. Now, on paper, Matt Frevola is a wrestler. Matt Frevola is a grinder. He trains with Rob Dvalishvili. He trains with Aljamain Sterling. Yeah, those guys all know how to strike, and Frevola does know how to strike. But he's mostly a grappler, and one would have to assume if he was going to beat Drew Dober, it'd probably be in a grappling match. Not only that, this is the same Matt Frevola who's been knocked out twice, in a minute. I think he got knocked out by Polo Reyes, of all people, in less than a minute. He theoretically doesn't have a great chin and is the lesser of the two strikers. Dober, meanwhile, is cast iron, proven durable, and an excellent striker. And like Paul, it wasn't a lucky knockout. It wasn't a flash knockout. Frevola kicked his ass, man. Like all he did, Drew Dober, was just walk into shots. He's trying to cut him off. It's just he's not doing a good job. It's almost as if when he advances with his hands low. Frevola is able to get off first. Everything he lands seemingly gets his attention. He rocks him a few times and then eventually puts him away. Now you get thinking, okay, Drew Dober's been around the game for a little bit. He's 34 years old. Was that the beginning of the end? Was that like that first knockout that really opens up the floodgates, and now he's going to be getting hit and he's going to be getting hurt? He's going to get stung? Because Rick Glenn, although not shaped like your average power puncher, more of like a longer, gangly type guy. And again, I think he's got 2 knockout wins in the last 9 years. I think that's a real stat, by the way. I think he's got 2 wins by knockout in the last 9 years. Should have maybe had a third one with Gavin Tucker. But he's got sneaky power, man. The guy can crack. If he hits you solidly, he can do some serious damage. And if Dober's gonna just try to be aggressive and bully this, the weaker of the two guys physically up against the cage, keep him on his back foot, land some combinations, Rick Glenn could land something sneaky up the middle, hit him and hurt him. But again, I always got to go with the final verdict. And the final verdict to me is that Rick Glenn is still actually massively underproven. Like his run here it ends off in 2018. But in 2018, he misses weight at 45 against Kevin Aguilar, has a full 15-minute battle with Kevin Aguilar, and only lands like 76 significant strikes. Not a great performance. Not even a great high volume performance. All good. Takes 2 years off, beats Joaquin Silva in 37 seconds. So what did you really know about him? Took 2 years off. He wins a fight in 37 seconds. It's just done. It's quick. Grant Dawson, last fight in Kansas, by the way, wins the first 2 rounds fairly convincingly, and then Rick Glenn mauls him to the tune of a 10-8 in the third and gets a draw. That aged well. That looks good well. He got dominated the first 2 rounds and had absolutely zero answers for it. He just relied on the fact that Dawson happened to have a bad cut and gassed himself out. So again, to me, good. It looks good, a draw against Grant Dawson, but it was not a great performance. Good third round on the base of your opponent's gas. And then Christos Giagos knocks him absolutely senseless in a minute and a half. So he's got maybe the same problem as Dober. Like Rick Glenn used to be known for his ability to take a punch, and Giagos just melted him. Dober just got melted. You got 2 guys coming off a knockout loss, and one of them's a 4-1 favorite. So I don't like the line. I don't like the value. I don't think there's any value on it, but I got to pick the rightful winner. I know there's value boys, and I think this guy's going to lose, but it pays okay. Like, I'm not going to pick the guy I think is going to lose. That's just not how I operate. I want to pick winning picks, not value picks. I can recognize value, but yeah, not for me, man. So Drew Dober, 4-1. I get it, but I don't get it. I get it, but it's not for me because I'm thinking Dober could be on the backswing here soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky Glenn has just been super, super hard to kind of figure out. But I think at the price of plus 320, I think because he's so volatile, knocking out Joaquin Silva in 37 seconds. What was his other? I mean, and then losing in the first round to Christos Giagos. The guy's all over the place. Going to decision against Grant Dawson, who's in the main event of this, and we were just singing his praises about how much he's improved. Now he's obviously improved a lot since then, and in that fight, getting the majority draw. Correct me if I'm wrong. He gassed out severely in round 3 in that fight, which seems to be fixed by Grant Dawson at this point. I don't know. Dober has been getting knocked down, wobbled, rocked for the longest time. We made the jokes about the size of his chin. And it's definitely been cracked, man. I would definitely struggle to get to the minus 420. I think the best bet on the board, the safest bet on the board in this is the under 2.5 rounds, which is minus 200. I think that's a decent little piece, whether it's parlays or even if you want to bet it straight. I don't think these guys are going the full 15. It probably doesn't even go to 2 rounds. So like the fight time under 9.75 minutes on PrizePicks, I don't mind that. And then like if you want to be a YOLO play, it's the Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn like by knockout probably would be a YOLO play, but I'll pick him for the purposes of this show. I just can't get to minus 420 on Drew Dober after what we've seen recently in his career, but it's just a high volatility fight that I don't feel too confident in selecting Ricky Glenn. But yeah, 80% on Dober. It's like, guy's been around. He's fighting Strikeforce in 2008. It's like the guy's had a big run. He's had a lot of fights. It's been a lot of damage on that chin. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked to see Ricky Glenn pull off the big upset here. We move on. We've got Bill Algeo taking on Alexander the Great Hernandez. Minus 145 for Algeo. Hernandez can be had for plus 125. I don't know. We used to dog on, Alexander Hernandez as being like a big time gasser, slows down a ton in fights, isn't able to keep his pace up, and I feel like even to a slight degree, he's kind of improved that a little bit. I don't know. This feels like a dogger pass type of situation for me. It's like Algeo doesn't really deliver strikes that are very, very stinging. I think the big shots are going to be landed by Alexander Hernandez. I don't think Bill Algeo is physically strong enough to like take him down at will, do anything like that. Maybe he catches, maybe he catches him once and like is able to get him down to the mat. But I really expect this to take place on the feet. And at plus 125, that would be my pick on Alexander Hernandez. I think he's just going to land the more damaging shots, the shots that grab the judge's attention a little bit more than the pitter-patter stuff that comes from Bill Algeo. So Alexander Hernandez for me. What about you?
I'm going to go ahead and agree. Again, yeah, got to take an underdog somewhere, and I think Alexander Hernandez has a very good chance. If you were going Bill Algeo, at the very least, live bet Bill Algeo after the first round, because Alexander Hernandez is a problem in that first. He's very, very athletic. He's very explosive. He has solid wrestling. He has solid power. This is a guy that knocked out Beneil Dariush in like 48 seconds with a forearm strike. Him at his best is a serious problem. And even when he loses, he doesn't typically lose a whole lot of first rounds because, again, he's just got that superior athleticism. His biggest problem has been composing himself, putting him into that mindset that you don't need to just kill the guy as soon as you can. And I think, like you said, the cardio issues are seemingly starting to fade a little bit because of two reasons. One, as he gains experience, as he gets a little bit older, as he gets that chip off his shoulder, he's fighting a lot smarter and he is conserving himself. The second thing is he's been a Factory X Muay Thai for a long time now. He's got a bit of a coaching gig there as well with Mark Montoya. And I feel like being at altitude, training with some of the best guys, he's figuring it out. He's figuring it out on the job, but he's figuring it out. Now, they generally give him really tough opponents, too. He's fought in high-level guys in the UFC. They haven't done him a whole lot of favors, even when it's like, oh, man, Alexander Hernandez needs a bounce back. It's Renato Moicano, Billy Q. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He still has to go out there and beat Jim Miller. But that win over Jim Miller was solid to me, right? 108 significant strikes landed. Lasted the full 15 minutes against a savvy guy like Jim. And at 29 years old, 30 years old, 31 years old, those are the prime years of your career. So Hernandez is not a busted prospect. He's not over the hill. He still can put it together. It's up to him to see what he can do. But all the skills is certainly there. With Bill Algeo, it's all about physicality with Bill Algeo. He's not that strong of a guy. He's got that long, kind of wiry frame, but he gives up a lot of takedowns. He was a high school wrestler, sure. That doesn't necessarily translate to taking on full-grown men at the best level of the sport. But here's a knock on Billy. Billy Algeo, from his fight on the Contender Series to all of his UFC fights, right? He's been taken down 25 times. Those 25 times, 3 times against Brendan Lucane, 5 times against Ricardo Lamas, 4 times against Spike Carlisle, 8 times against Ricardo Ramos, twice against Joannison Brito, once against Herbert Burns, once against Andre Feely, once against TJ Brown. He's been taken down in every single fight that he's had for the organization. That's what's going to happen here in this Hernandez fight. Hernandez is quicker. He hits harder. And if he stays to the outside, Bill needs to make it a dirty fight. Bill needs to out-volume Hernandez, who typically is not going to land. I guess he did against Jim Miller, but for the most part, Hernandez, because of the questionable cardio, he doesn't throw massive combinations. He doesn't throw, I guess he does till he guesses. The point being, if Bill's going to win this fight, it's not through physicality, it's through that determination. Come forward, tire him out, have as many firefights as you can on the feet, and eventually put him in a bad spot. But I think for Hernandez, if he backpedals out, he can just pick his shots. He's stronger, he's more physical. He can mix out in takedowns whenever he pleases. And Bill Algeo, although a black belt, probably not catching Hernandez with anything off of his back. So I don't mind Alexander Hernandez at plus money, to be honest. I hate backing the guy when he's a big favorite because the favorite status is always based on what he's capable of. He doesn't quite meet those expectations most of the time. There's no expectation on him. He is a plus money underdog. And again, I think that he is not over the hill. He's still got some good fights to go out there and show. And I'm willing to take a shot on that. So exact same thing you got. I think Bill Algeo is absolutely cast iron and probably takes all of his best shots. So I'm leaning towards a Hernandez by decision. But at plus money, why get greedy? I'll just take the Hernandez straight up.
Yeah. And then PrizePicks, they've got Algeo at 66.5 significant strikes and 0.5 takedowns. The takedowns at 0.5, like, it makes me super, because I want to bet the under, but it's like you could like catch a kick or just have like a weird scramble, and it seems like a good play. Wrestling doesn't really factor into most of it, but it gets graded. But like I agree with you. I think I see this fight going the full 15. 65.5 seems like pretty manageable for Bill Algeo in that type of situation. The only question is like if Alexander Hernandez is able to knock him out. I feel like that's the more likely way that Bill doesn't get over 65.5 significant strikes. So I like it, don't love it. But yeah, that's why I like on PrizePicks for that fight. Moving on down, we've got Ion Cutelaba taking on Philipe Lins, minus 150 for Cutelaba, plus 130 for Philipe Lins. The only guarantee in this fight, Cody, is that Ion Cutelaba is probably going to do something stupid. Like, guy is super, super tough. He's obviously got, like, great athleticism, but, like, the guy just... he gasses out and makes boneheaded decisions in so many of his fights. I don't love Philipe Lins, but I'm definitely tempted to hop on board here. The win over Max Grishin seemed to be like, you know, his best performance, best thing he was able to put together in the UFC so far. I know he knocked out Ovince St. Preux, but Ovince St. Preux was over the hill. That didn't really tell us all that much. The win against Max Grishin was like kind of a complete performance. He wasn't able to get his opponent out of there and show that he's able to go to the full 15 and secure a win against a middling opponent in the UFC. I know what you're going to say. You're going to be like, maybe the best thing to do, and it probably is the best thing to do, is like, if you want to bet Lins live, bet him live, because Ion's going to come out there. He's going to be crazy for the first like 5 minutes or so. And then he gasses. So he's probably going to get takedowns. He's going to, the Philipe Lins at plus 130 could be like plus 300 after the first 2.5 minutes of this fight. But I don't know. Ion Cutelaba favorite status, I'm totally out on that in the year 2023. So it's Philipe Lins for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Philipe Lins as well. This is just like, it's a tough fight to get a read on, because essentially what you've got here is you've got the most exciting guy in the division, Ion Cutelaba. Just absolute madness, berserk rage mode, go at you like a human tornado, taking on what is quite possibly the most boring fighter in the division. Philipe Lins fights suck. Yes, he knocked out OSP, I'll give him that one, but what about the Andrei Arlovski fight where they just stared at each other? They did absolutely nothing.
Heavyweight.
What about his fight? What about his fight with Marcin Prachnio, where he got outstruck and relied on holding Prachnio? And then that last fight with Maxim Grishin, you're right, complete performance to 15 minutes, but he took him down once in the first round, and then the second and the third round, he didn't do shit. He just held on to him. He landed 45 significant strikes in 15 minutes, and that is high for him. That's actually the second highest total he's ever had in the UFC. Here's a guy that won $1 million for PFL as a heavyweight, and his run as a light heavyweight in the UFC, it's just been like so unmemorable, you know? He fights so lethargic in there. And he's a big enough guy, but he's 38 years old. So what real improvements is he making? I'm not sure. His chin, although good, you think back to the fact that Tanner Boser knocked him out in 240. Not a great look. Another guy that's also down at 205 now. Lins just holds guys up against the cage, man. His wrestling's not even all that good. And although he's got a 100% takedown defense, which on paper looks pretty dope, which wrestlers ever fought? Andre Arlovsky, Tanner Boser, Marcin Prachnio, OSP, and Maxim Grishin? Quite literally every single guy's a kickboxer. Not one guy is known for the grappling in the slightest sense. So yeah, 100% takedowns against those guys. But the tough thing is the Apex, and it's a small venue, and it's got very loud acoustics, and one guy, young Cutelaba, is coming at you like a dog frothing from the mouth, and the other guy is just looking to press you up against the cage and lean on you. So you got to have the judges on your side. Thing is, Cutelaba doesn't go to the judges, so you know, what do you get out of this? And what I noticed with Cutelaba, again, is that this is why, as you mentioned, the live bet's on the table. The live bet is on the table because young Cutelaba looks good in almost all of his fights for a little moment. His fight with Ryan Spann, he took him down 3 times in the first 2 minutes. Then he got caught in a guillotine choke. So with Johnny Walker, he took him down immediately. Johnny Walker pops up, takes him down, chokes him out, catches him in a first-round rear naked choke. His fight with Kenny Njoku, he takes him down twice immediately. First round ends, second round comes out, Kenny just blasts him. He's not able to carry the performance through. He's not able to fight a 15 minutes. He's more explosive than Philipe Lins. He's faster. He has bigger power. He's a lot more entertaining. He's a lot more explosive, all these different things. But over the course of 15 minutes is what he's getting himself into here. If he doesn't materialize that first round knockout, he's probably going to be getting leaned up against the cage and losing time and getting tired. And the biggest determining factor for me, which is why I was like, I'm willing to take that plus money flyer, why it was a dog or pass, and I can't pass on the show, so I took the dog, is like, again, Philipe Lins won the PFL tournament at heavyweight. His first fight in the UFC against Andre Arlovsky is at heavyweight. He's dropped down to 205, and he's realized a little bit of success here with 3 straight wins. To me, Ion Cutelaba, his biggest issue is that he's not a 205er. The guy is a middleweight. He is a big middleweight. He is shocked up. He is jacked up, but he does not have the frame of a 205er. And they keep matching him up against actual 205ers who are almost always twice his size, which results in him gassing out 3 minutes into the fight, which results in him losing. And this is much of the same. So I don't think Lins finishes him, but Cutelaba doesn't lose decisions for the most part. So something's got to give. And if he doesn't catch him early, I think that's all she wrote. He's dangerous because the same thing as the Boser fight. He just bum rushes Boser and knocks him out before the fight really gets started. If he does that against Lins, he's live. He's live to get it. If Lins can survive that initial onslaught, I think that's when he starts leaning on him. Last but not least, both guys spent a lot of time on American Top Team, so don't know if that favors anybody, but you know, maybe Lins has seen his moves before. Maybe Lins has the coaching staff can like figure something out, and that's it. And even if I had like a little inside scoop that Ion Cutelaba was in the best shape of his life and Philipe Lins had no meniscus in both legs, you run into the issue I've had over the last 2 UFC cards where it's like, my guys keep getting disqualified with like bum ass knees to the head on the ground or an elbow strike to the back of the head. Man, goddamn Cody. Anyways, doesn't matter. Ion Cutelaba is the type of guy to get himself disqualified. So even if you really did like him, you can never really trust him.
No. You never can trust him. PrizePicks has 8.5 minutes lined as this. I mean, if you look at like the markets right now, 1.5 rounds is like juice to like minus 145. So there's like a minute of value basically there. That'll probably move to a 7.5 eventually. So it's a little meat on the bone. But like, I mean, if you're listening to this show later in the week, it's probably gone. That's probably moved to 7.5, and then it would be a no bet. But yeah, this fight is like so volatile. I have no idea what to do on PrizePicks. Wouldn't be surprised for like Cutelaba to win. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by a draw here. It's like Cutelaba wins a 10-8 in round 1, isn't able to put him away, and then like Lins just like presses him up against the cage for rounds 2 and 3, and it's like just an absolute bore draw. But who knows? It'll be interesting to see what happens when these two numbskulls end up in the cage together. Moving on down, we've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz taking on Diana Belbita. Kowalkiewicz is a minus 160 favorite. Belbita can be had for plus 140. Cody, I'm going to fill up my coffee. You take it away here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pat Bayo would tell you just take the random underdog, and this is probably going to be a fight that likely goes 15 minutes, likely is close and competitive, but I got to go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz all day, and that really does come down to the back class. When you look at Diana Belbita, here's a very interesting little stat like with her, right? We'll go back to the Lilian Joshua fight. She loses to Lilian Joshua, who's 1-3 in the UFC. Her only win, Diana Belbita. She then beats Hannah Goldie. Hannah Goldie is 1-4 in the UFC. She then loses to Gloria De Paula. Gloria De Paula is 1-3 in the UFC. That one win, Diana Belbita. And then in her last fight, it's Maria Oliveira. Maria Oliveira is 1-3 in the UFC. Her one win, Paula. Like, she is really scraping the bottom. Literally everyone she's fought is 1-3 in the UFC. Molly McCann, that was her UFC debut. That would be considered the best opponent that she's fought. And she got taken down 5 times and got hit 113 significant times. So she struggles to really find her niche. She's a Romanian kickboxer, trains in Canada now under the legendary Karolina at House of Champions. And they're definitely putting all their resources behind her and trying to get her wrestling going. Adrian Woolley's a wrestling coach. She has Kyle Nelson as a teammate. She's definitely doing the best that she can. Spends a little bit of time in Vegas here and there when she can. Ultimately, though, she's most comfortable as a kickboxer. She needs to keep these fights standing. She needs to throw volume. She needs to stay in your face. She's got good power for the division. They have nice game plans for her. She can flick up a nice little high kick. But as far as a well-rounded martial artist, she's still kind of figuring it out as she goes. There's a lot of marketability there. No doubt if she was to win a fight like a girl like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, it would, skyrocket her career. And there's a lot of good fights for her coming up. She's still young. She is improving. To me, this is just a bit of a too much too soon. Because when you look at Joshua, Hannah Goldie, Gloria De Paula, and Maria Oliveira, absolutely none of them would win one single round against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Not going to happen. Which one of those girls wins one single round? Which one of those girls wins one single minute? I couldn't tell you. Karolina, meanwhile, it's like, yeah, she's fought a who's who. She's been a former title challenger. She has that experience, and she's on a bit of a career resurgence with a 3-fight winning streak. In those 3 fights, what I'm most, impressed by, the 2 fights back against Silva Gomez Juarez, there's someone who's a cast iron tough Argentinian, South American anyways. I thought she was Argentinian. Striker who's going to come forward, good boxing, decent power for the division. Weakness is grappling. Karolina stands with her. They exchange. She mixes in those takedowns. It's a close fight. It's a 29-28 across the board, but Karolina Kowalkiewicz shows crafty veteran, does have the wrestling, does have the grappling, can strike. And then the last fight's against Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos has no wrestling and is a jiu-jitsu fighter. And when she can't get the fight to the ground, she's there to get hit. So Karolina fights excellent. She matadors her. She stays out of harm's way, throws up 139 significant strikes, lands the whole time. If Belbita comes forward and throws down with Karolina, I think Karolina should have the volume. I think she should land those crafty little strikes, set up a few little traps, have Belbita overcommit. And then ultimately, if you're serious about winning this fight, you're going to trip her up to the mat. You're going to wait for her to be aggressive, come forward. You're going to wait for her to throw a combination. You're going to wait for her to snap out that high kick, and you're going to commit, get down, and take her to the canvas. And then once it's on the ground, I think Karolina Kowalkiewicz is leaps and bounds the better grappler. So getting a little bit older and this and that, that's fair. But considering that this is a fighter that was on a 5-fight losing streak, that lost to Jessica Panay by first-round armbar, that everybody was universally saying, retire, retire, retire. And she decides to just recommit herself. American top team, some of the best trainers in the game, best coaches, best place to be. And yeah, Felice Herrig, low-level fight. Silva Gomez Juarez, not a great fight. Even her last fight against Vanessa Demopoulos, not the highest level. But we know that she's been there before. She's got her confidence back. And to me, that's been the biggest thing. Once she got her confidence back, she realized I can hang. She can hang against Belbita. She just got to believe it. So I will take the favorite here. I'm expecting this to go 15 minutes. I'm expecting it to be dicey. I'm expecting that a bad judge could give it the other way. But I'm expecting the better fighter to win on this particular night. And currently right now, that should be KK.
Yeah, the thing about it is She's kind of able to like cover every single path of victory here, right? It's like she could win a volume exchange. That's probably the way that she lets Belbita win the fight more often than not. It's like if they're just throwing, then who knows what the judges are going to score. Belbita does have a 4-inch reach advantage, 68 to 64 in the reach department. So I like that's the range that obviously Belbita is going to try to keep this fight at. But yeah, the amount of experience, small cage, being able to secure takedowns. I mean, Maria Oliveira was able to secure 2 takedowns against Belbita. Like that should be a path that's very, very open for Karolina here. I've been backing Karolina this entire three fight winning streak, getting back on track. Apparently she had like some mental health issues. She was considering retiring, and then this winning streak, it's kind of her last hurrah. You would imagine probably like her last trying to drive her way back into the title picture after a 5-fight losing streak. And yeah, I'm not like the price is pretty reasonable. Like I think she's able to secure takedowns, make it a little bit ugly, hold it up against the cage, and yeah, like hanging out at range is probably where you get yourself into some trouble and make this fight closer than it has to be. I like Karolina. Karolina by decision is probably it's plus 105. Gets you down a little bit. I don't know. I think the money line's just fine as it is, minus 160. I'm in for the Karolina resurgence right now, at least against this level of opponent. Moving on down, we've got Mateus Mendonca taking on Nate Maness, minus 260 for Mendonca, plus 220 for Maness. Who you got?
Yeah, so here's another fight that's like you can agree with the favorite. And I thought Mendonca, honestly, originally fight gets announced, I'm like, I think Mendonca wins. He's coming down to 125 pounds. He can be big at 125, strong at 125. And, depends what kind of plus money you can get out of it. But it's like, no plus money to be had. Big favorite. So, I don't know. To break this one down, honestly, in a nutshell, I'm a big Nate Maness fan, Kentucky boy, former TKO champion over in Quebec, Canada. The run in the UFC, though, was mostly him getting his ass kicked. And then if he's able to come back, he's able to come back. But if not, it's just more him getting his ass kicked. His fight with Luke Sanders, if you remember it, the first round, he's getting mollywopped. Second round, Luke Sanders pulls a classic Luke Sanders. Blows it and loses. But he's getting his ass kicked the first round. The next fight is Tony Gravely. Paul, you'll remember that fight. He gets his ass kicked in that first round. He got his jaw broken. Jaw broken right at the end of the first round. His cornerman pick him up off the canvas, which I don't think you're allowed to do. Carry him over to his corner, drop him, explain to him that he's in a fight. He don't remember nothing. And he comes out in the second round, and don't you know it, he beats Tony Gravely. And then they gave him the Dagestani treatment. Usman Nurmagomedov, Tagir Ulanbekov, clearly Nate Maness, not quite there. So yeah, he drops both of those as well. And then in those fights in particular, it was the grappling, right? He got taken down by Usman 3 times, and then it was just once per round. And then as soon as he would get taken down, there was zero ability to get back up. There was zero ability to scramble. There was zero ability to do anything. He got outstruck 74-2. And then in the fight with Ulanbekov, he got taken down immediately, gave up his back, gets taken down immediately, tries to scramble and hop up, gets caught in a guillotine choke, had landed 4. So now you got a guy that's essentially over the last 3 years landed 6 significant strikes in the UFC, both against killer Russians. He's flopped from 135, where he was getting mauled in those first rounds before coming back, to 125, where the success isn't quite there. I think he's sturdy. I think he's got, big heart, set of cojones on him, willing to fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. At flyweight, he should be, in theory, a lot better of a weight class for him. I could see him getting back to his roots and kind of having some success, but the success just has not been there lately. And for Mendonca is the heavier striker. He's a guy that likes to come forward and throw, but his grappling is pretty good, man. He's big and he's strong and he's very physical. What I saw in the Javid Basharat fight is I'm all in on Javid Basharat. I think he's going to maul Mendonca. Mendonca got him down twice. Mendonca had some good success grappling with Javid Basharat, who is a pretty good size 130 and known specifically for just legitimate grappling. So Mendonca coming down to 125, having a full camp, being the much larger man. If this thing stays standing, he's got enough firepower to just land those bigger shots against Nate Maness, kind of back him up. When he shoots the takedown, Maness really hasn't really shown good takedown defense against anybody. So chances are Mendonca gets him down. And if he gets on top of him again, I just don't see the jiu-jitsu or the ability to scramble back up to his feet. My one question is, Maness is a tough guy. I can't take a beating. And Mendonca is going to have a tough weight cut down to 125. He's going to be huge. And he uses a lot of explosive muscle. He uses a lot of fast twitch muscle in all of his techniques. So this could be an okay live betting spot if you were a Nate Maness fan, that he probably does get taken down and beat up in the first. But if he doesn't get his neck caught, he can stay alive. He can tire him out a little bit. He should, in theory, have a lot more success the later this thing progresses. So, gonna take Mendonca, but I don't love it. And again, I'm kind of having a better look at this one from a live betting spot.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring. I mean, coming in against Javid, obviously it was a tough opponent, and being able to take him down twice. But it's like he was tripled up on like significant strikes over the course of that fight. It's kind of one of those spots where it's like, guy loses, but like does better than people expect, and then they become a big favorite next time out. Those spots have been historically pretty. It's kind of, I mean, I think Mendonca is a lot better than who's the guy that O'Malley fought again? I forget his name.
Oh, little Chris Moutinho.
Yeah, poor Chris Moutinho. We kind of saw that one coming, where it's just like, he ended up going out as a favorite in his next fight and then gets knocked out in the first round by Guido, right?
Guido, yeah, Guido.
Yeah, so it's like, it's always weird when they, the market kind of overcorrects to somebody who has just lost their previous fight. But Nate Maness has shown grappling deficiencies. Mendonca is able to take down and survive while he's on bottom against Javid. It would lead you to believe that path to victory should be there for him. Plus, on the regional scene, he's been an absolute banger, finishing dudes with his strikes. So I understand why he's the favorite. I will be picking him, but I'm a little bit nervous about it as well. Moving on down, we got Kanako Murata taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. Minus 325 for Murata, plus 275 for Demopoulos. What are your thoughts here, bud?
This is right up Pat Mayo's alley, and I'm very tempted. And I think as of right now, I will take the underdog. But it's a game theory. It's game theory more than anything else. So Kanako Murata, again, at her best, she wins this fight. She is a supremely high-level wrestler. Of course, she's got a ton of accolades, and she's going to be a better better wrestler than the vast majority of the division. You've seen her in Invicta FC, a couple of nice wins, including one over Emily Ducati. She can wrestle hard. She can wrestle for 5 rounds. She's got good top control. Looks like she's going to be a legitimate threat in the UFC. I like her wrestling the number 1 base. Japanese wrestlers, not really known to be the highest of the level, but I think in this division, she'll probably get away with it. Takes on Ronda Marcos, 4 takedowns on the Ronda Marcos, pretty solid, good little grappling exchanges here and there. But for the most part, didn't really get a whole lot done with it per se, right? Did get the 4 takedowns, lands 29 significant strikes on top and threw up a couple submission attempts. So doesn't have that plan B to fall back on. Doesn't have the striking to fall back on. She just has the wrestling. And Ronda, unfortunately, is also a wrestler. So when she's able to take her down, that's a favorable enough matchup for her. The very next fight is Virna Jandiroba. Virna Jandiroba is a BJJ black belt. Virna Jandiroba also knows how to wrestle. So now for Murata, it's like, is there a plan B? And for the record, Virna can't strike. Like, if you were going to test your striking out in one particular fight, it would probably be that. What you have in that fight is Kanako doesn't really want to wrestle, but Virna throws up an armbar attempt and breaks Murata's arm. Now she's got one arm flailing. The wrestling doesn't exist after that. Now you have to see her fight standing with one arm. No head movement, no footwork, one and done, survival mode. Virna just mauls her top to bottom, and then they stop the fight after the second because she has a broken arm. So part of you could say, right, with reason, it was the broken arm. It was the broken arm. To me, there's numerous red flags. One, she can't. If the wrestling isn't there, there is no plan B. She needs to wrestle and she needs to get on top. The second thing is a good, legitimate BJJ black belt like Virna Jandiroba throws up an armbar. She didn't tap, but it broke her arms. Her grappling's not exactly top notch as well. Then, because she had the broken arm, she's been off for 2 years and 4 months, 28 months. She's nearly been on the sideline for 30 months, Paul, since having the broken arm. And she is 30 years old. So she's young. Maybe she's been making improvements. Maybe she's been doing something. But to me, I see a near 3-year-long layoff. Last fight, you broke your arm. You got massively beat up. Didn't get no takedowns by Virna Jandiroba. And in some small, sick way, Virna's got a lot of similarities to Vanessa Demopoulos. She can't strike, but she's a willing participant. She's got nasty BJJ. And the one key difference is Virna's got legitimate wrestling and Demopoulos absolutely does not. But that doesn't matter here because you're not taking down Murata. It's not going to happen. So what you can do is you can do that stupid little Vanessa Demopoulos come forward, face forward, and just come forward, pressure. Doesn't work against legitimate strikers. Against Murata, it would. And it's going to cause her to shoot the reactionary takedown. At that point, maybe she just sits on top of her the whole time, right? But Vanessa Demopoulos has a legitimate BJJ black belt. She trains with some of the best BJJ black belts. She's a training partner of Mackenzie Dern. I think there's a world that exists where she wins the striking exchanges and the judges say, oh, Vanessa's coming forward. Vanessa's landing the better shots. Murata's shooting the takedown. Vanessa's immediately going to mission control. She's immediately trying to grab an arm. She's immediately trying to grab something. And they're going to score the rounds for Demopoulos because she's fighting. She's fighting. She's trying to submit her. She's trying to knock her out. Murata's taking her down and holding her down. Yeah, for this kind of money line, is that your plan? That's the path to victory? And she's been off for 28 months? Oh, dog, not for me. Not for me. So, like, I'm almost forced into a Vanessa Demopoulos bet. I am. There's a gun to my head, and there's nothing I can do about it. So, I'm taking Demopoulos. Yeah, dude, she's got stripper guard. You really think Murata's going to be ready for this? No chance.
I love it, man. I mean, yeah, it's like... Murata's her volume, at least in her 2 UFC fights, is pretty much non-existent. She's getting like 30, 35 significant strikes. It's like Demopoulos isn't the highest volume person, but it's like she can get close to like 80 significant strikes in her fights. And then, yeah, it's like Murata's, you got to factor in too. It's like, 2 years off, probably a massive surgery or something had to go on for her to have that much time off after a fight being ended that way. And if Demopoulos does throw up an arm bar, is it like, oh my God, I don't want to go through that again? I don't want to fight through this and, have to go through surgery and rehab and all that other stuff. Again, does she kind of insta-tap? I don't know. All I know is that Demopoulos plus 275, like it because I could see her winning a volume-based striking affair between the two of them. We're already seeing that, like, if you get takedowns, but it's like you don't really do anything from top position, the judges aren't really rewarding that anymore. And then on top of it, if a little sprinkle of, right now the only price that's out there is plus. It was opened at plus 900. People are obviously seeing the same things as us. It's plus 800, so it's moved 100 points. But Demopoulos by sub is going to be like plus 800, plus 1,000 in some spots. Probably not the worst little sprinkle on the card. Don't mind it one bit. You know me, the CF dot model. If Cody is agreeing with the CF dot model, your boy's
agree.
Your boy's gonna be getting down on some stripper jitsu this weekend. Moving on down, we've got Aoriqileng taking on Johnny Munoz, minus 110 on both sides, Cody. I mean, even the total on this fight is pretty much a pick 'em. I think this is basically the books are going, we have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen between the two of these guys. Do you have like a firm, hard take on it? Because the market doesn't seem to have any idea. The total has no idea. Like, what can we expect to see from these two gentlemen?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really know if you know what to expect. Aoriqileng, I don't mind. Thing is his last fight against Ayman Zahabi, he just got smoked out of there in a minute. And so that kind of goes against the model of fighter that he is. He's the Mongolian murderer. He comes forward, he slings bombs, he gets taken down a whole bunch, but he works his way back up and he makes a scrap. He lost to Jeff Molina, but it was an absolute banger of a war. I think it was fight of the night. He landed 116 significant strikes and 3 takedowns. Lost, but looked good. His fight with Cody Durden, he outstruck Cody Durden 65-60 and took him down. Won the 3rd round, I believe. Lost, but look good. And then he wins 2 straight. So I thought momentum was starting to get behind him. He's starting to put the pieces together. Again, here's a guy that's very physically strong. He can muscle you to the ground. You can muscle him to the ground, but he's going to make you work. He's going to make you exhaust yourself. And when he is standing, he seems to just land those bigger, heavier shots. The Jay Perrin fight, Jay Perrin actually outstruck him by like a okay enough margin, but it's the bigger shots, it's the more impactful blows, and Aoriqileng's got that. Thing is if you're gonna fight that forward pressure, not the most technical guy, but the toughest guy in the room type style, gotta be able to take the punch, man. And against Aimon, he got just dropped right away. So part of me a little bit worried. Thing is that Johnny Munoz couldn't break a grape, like could not. I think he's got 1 win by knockout in the last 5 years, and the guy was 7 wins, 11 losses. So he's a grappler. He can wrestle a little bit, and that's about it. I have not been impressed with him in the slightest bit. Mind you, I thought he beat Nate Maness in his UFC debut. They didn't give it to him. He wins Jamie Simmons. Jamie Simmons, I think, went 1 and done in the UFC. They gave him 1 single fight and then released him. Actually, that's a lie. He lost to Giga Chikadze. So, yeah, he went 0-2 in the UFC, and then they released him. My apologies. Tony Gravely knocks him out a minute 8. And so the thing with Munoz is Munoz likes to wrestle, but his wrestle's not super high level. He's not a very physical guy. When he gets that takedown, it's not like a reactionary shot in on anything. He's trying to press you up against the cage and then just hit a double leg off the cage. Push and pull, push and pull, push and pull, which is fine. It's an effective technique, but it doesn't have that physicality to necessarily push you and pull you off of the cage. So the wrestling to me is just it's not at an elite level. It's not at a high enough level to say that's something he can rely on. What he does also throw is a ton of jabs. He's got that jab, no power in it, no power in the right hand. He's just kind of sitting there waiting for things to happen. In his last fight against Daniel Santos, his wrestling is not on display. He gives up 3 takedowns to Wiley Cat. He also gets outstruck 50-18. He had absolutely no answer. He gets no respect from his opponents because they don't feel his shots coming. He doesn't have the wrestling or the physicality to grapple them for 15 minutes. Really, all he can do is just go through the motions. I'm not impressed with him in the slightest bit. Can you win a fight like a Aoriqileng? Sure. Because, again, on paper, he does have better wrestling than him, and he could take him down. On paper, he does have okay volume. Maybe he could, stick that jab in his face. But to me, the realistic nature is even if he gets a takedown, Aoriqileng's getting back up. And when Aoriqileng does get back up, these little jabs and these little flim-flam shots in this little right hand, it's not going to matter because he's going to back you down. He's going to land the bigger shots. He's going to cause you to have to circle. He's going to have to cause you to run. That's not going to look good for the judges, and they're going to score for Aoriqileng. So I think it probably goes to decision, and Aoriqileng wins 2 of the 3 rounds. So sign me up for Aoriqileng by unanimous. Don't even take the prop on unanimous or split. They'll screw you, bro. They'll screw you. Take the decision. Take the decision.
Sign me up for what you're having on that as well. I don't really know what's going to happen when the wrestling, like how the wrestling matches up and whether Johnny Munoz is going to be able to enable. I really don't know. So it's like I'm not going to be getting there with my bank account. But yeah, the guy who I expect to land the more punishing blows, punishing strikes over the course of 15 minutes is Aoriqileng. So that's, if I was forced to make a play on this fight, it would be Aoriqileng as well. All right, and finally, we got Montana De La Rosa taking on your baby, JJ Aldrich. Montana De La Rosa is a -140 favorite. Aldrich can be had for +120. Aldrich opened as the favorite here. Money's piled in on Montana. Is that wise, Cody?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that has to be narrative, right? And we kind of did talk about it in a certain way in Belbita versus Kowalkiewicz, where it's that Montana De La Rosa fights the creme de la creme and gets her ace kicked against the creme de la creme. So if she wasn't fighting those girls, how much better could her record be looking? Her last fight's against Tatiana Suarez. Like, come on. The one before that, Macy Barber, very tough fight. She's fought Marina Bueno Silva, who, by the way, she took Marina Bueno Silva down 3 times, and Holly Holm couldn't take her down once. Mm-hmm. So she fights good girls, man. Vivian Arroyo, Andrea Lee. Like, man, one has to wonder how much better could she be if she took the easy fights, but she doesn't take the easy fights. She always takes the tough ones. And you got to definitely give her kudos for that. It just hasn't led to necessarily the best results. One thing I will give her, though, her fight with Nadia Cossum, 2 takedowns. Andrea Lee, 5 takedowns. Marina Romero Barella, 1. Vivian Arroyo, 1. Marina Buena Silva, 3. Ariane Lipsky, 2. Macy Barber, 1. Tatiana Suarez, good luck, man. Carlos Sparza didn't even come close. She gets takedowns in pretty much all of her fights, Paul. That's one consistent thing about her, is that she can take a hell of a punch. Yeah, her nose will bust. She'll be bleeding, but she can take one hell of a punch. And she comes forward. She's tenacious as hell, trains at altitude, is a dog, and will get into a dog fight. She'll press the action with the wrestling and eventually break on through. And again, that's why she's rewarded with one takedown in the vast majority of her fights. JJ Aldrich, meanwhile, people can say, oh, her grappling has gotten better and it's this and that. It's not. It's still a problem. It's still a problem when you look at, she just beat Na Liang. It's a layup. It's a free fight. It's a, here you go, here's a free win. And Na Liang took her down 3 times. Her fight before that with Ariana Lipski absolutely decimated her on the ground. 2 easy takedowns and then mauled on her. And then just one fight before that with Erin Blanchfield, grappling didn't even look that bad, right? She ends up getting caught by the standing guillotine choke, but there's moments of brilliance for JJ. My biggest thing is that JJ fails to fight the full 15-minute experience. She will be looking good, nice jab, moving well. Opponents that are bully type opponents that can press her up against the cage, that can make, a blue-collared fight, a hard-nosed fight, a scrap, they tend to have a lot of success with her. And so on one hand, it's like there's, you could look back at the Jillian Robertson fight and say, hey, she stuffed all Robertson's takedowns. Got taken out once, I guess, but she immediately gets back up. She avoids the back take. She out-grapples Jillian Robertson for the most part and then chews her up. Robertson, this is always on paper, is just as good as a Montana De La Rosa as a wrestler. Is just as good as a grappler as a Montana De La Rosa. So she can do that with Robertson. Why can't she just keep this fight standing and use that jab all night? Possibly. But fights don't work like that, man. It's a case-by-case scenario. When Montana De La Rosa has something that Jillian Robertson doesn't have, and it's the tenacity, dude. Like, I've seen her nose all the way to the left. She's a pretty girl, by the way. All the way to the left, and she's just game mode. She is Lotana Chibuzi. There's something within her inside that she wants to win the fight more than Rudy Rudiger wants to play one single down for Notre Dame, Paul. That's how bad she wants it. And they make it work for themselves. So, yeah, 2-fight losing streak, but I'm going to willingly give her a pass on that. And I think she probably makes this dirty in Aldrich and wins this fight. But it'd be a way better live betting spot, to be honest with you. Got to make a final verdict, right? I guess final verdict would be Montana De La Rosa, but probably a better live bet.
I don't know if it's a better live bet, because Montana De La Rosa maybe gets a takedown right out of the gate and controls some top position. Yeah, the Tatiana Suarez fight, Suarez was basically kind of mitigated to doing like nothing in round 1 because Montana De La Rosa made it really, really hard for Tatiana to get those takedowns. Like, that was kind of one that you can throw out there. Macy Barber, is really kind of coming into her own recently. She throws super, super heavy strikes. She's able to finish a lot of people. Obviously, Rebus is the most recent victim of that. And Montana, it wasn't, by the numbers, it's not a great performance, but she shows a lot of heart in a lot of these performances. The real telltale, about how this wrestling should kind of play out is the Ariana Lipski fight, where, Montana De La Rosa is able to get 2 takedowns there, gets a finish in round 2. Lipski, who seems to be on her own little kind of resurgence right now, she was able to take down Aldrich twice and had the best performance of her career. So I agree with the line movement. I agree with your assessment that Montana's got that dog in her. And I think that she covers the price tag of minus 140. Likely wins by decision, but who knows? Who knows? And the decision props are going to be so jacked up at this point. I think you might as well just take the money line. But yeah, Montana De La Rosa for me as well. Yeah, that is it for us. Oh, wait a second. You got to hit him with the PRP before I wrap up and get out of here.
Hits him with the PRP. We're going to go with Grant Dawson, Joe Pyfer, Joaquin Buckley, Drew Dober, Alexander Hernandez is dog number 1. Philipe Lins is dog number 2. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Mateus Mendonca, Vanessa Demopoulos is dog number 3. Aoriqileng's even money, and Montana De La Rosa was an underdog, but currently the betting favorite. So, yeah, again, I wouldn't say dog city, but I think there's going to be a couple underdogs slipping through. I'm just trying to avoid that massive apple pie shitter. And then beyond anything else, it's like, who are the guys that you trust? I trust Pyfer, big favorite. Dawson, because he's the main event, he's likely going to end up on that top ticket, gives you the head option, and just allows you to not have to force some random dude on the top card with it. Because like with Dober, is he top ticket material? He's minus 450, but coming off that loss, I don't know that I trust him. Who else is top ticket material? Can't put Karolina on it because it's like, women's MMA, dog. And yeah, that's effectively it. There's really no locks. There's no locks on this card. So best thing you can do is just hopefully you get the good bounces, the parlays kick off. And then with Bellator, take the fights that you like from that and kind of merge the two of them together and make, some cross-brand parlays that are a little bit safer, so to speak.
Nice. All right, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For producer Megan and Cody Saftic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.